The Danube River, a vital artery of life and commerce, flowed through the heart of Europe. Its waters carried not only goods but also the weight of history. In the heart of this tumultuous time, I found myself caught in the currents of a world at war. The year was 1944, and the shadow of World War II stretched across the continent. I was a young man then, working for a water transport company in Budapest. My days were spent on the bustling docks and aboard sturdy barges. We transported goods and people along the Danube, a lifeline connecting bustling cities and quiet villages. The river was our office, our companion, and our witness. Each day brought new challenges, new faces, and new stories to be told. The air crackled with tension. The war had cast a long shadow even upon the seemingly peaceful waters of the Danube. The once familiar sounds of commerce were now punctuated by the distant rumble of artillery and the drone of aircraft overhead. We knew that the conflict was drawing closer, but life on the river had to go on. The barges needed to sail, supplies needed to be delivered, and people needed to reach their destinations. Amidst the uncertainty, we held on to a sliver of hope. We hoped that the war would soon be over, that peace would return, and that the Danube would once again flow freely, carrying with it not the echoes of conflict, but the promise of a brighter future. The world was engulfed in flames, a maelstrom of ideologies and ambitions clashing on a global scale. The year 1944 marked a turning point in the war. The tide was turning against the Axis powers, and the relentless advance of the Allied forces brought both hope and destruction in its wake. For those of us caught in the crossfire, the war was not a distant conflict but a stark reality that touched every aspect of our lives. Food was scarce, fear was rampant, and the future seemed as uncertain as the dark waters of the Danube at night. Romania, my homeland, had been allied with Germany, drawn into the conflict by the promise of power and the threat of force. But as the war progressed and the tide began to turn, Romania found itself caught between two powerful forces, its fate hanging precariously in the balance. The political landscape shifted with the suddenness of a summer storm. Alliances crumbled, loyalties were tested, and the very ground beneath our feet seemed to tremble with uncertainty. In the midst of this upheaval, the lives of ordinary people were turned upside down. Families were torn apart, homes were destroyed, and the future seemed to hold nothing but darkness and despair. Yet, even in the darkest of times, the human spirit proved resilient. Acts of kindness, courage, and compassion flickered like candles in the wind, reminding us that even amidst the horrors of war, there was still hope to be found. My life on the Danube, once a source of comfort and familiarity, took a sudden and unexpected turn. The water police, their faces grim and their demeanor officious, boarded our barge with an air of authority that brooked no argument. It was then that I learned the news that would change my life forever. Romania, seeking to extricate itself from the clutches of a losing war, had severed ties with Germany and joined forces with the Soviet Union. Overnight, I became an enemy alien, my presence in Budapest no longer welcome. The world as I knew it crumbled around me, and I was swept away by a tide of events far beyond my control. The charges against me were swift and unequivocal. My status as a Romanian citizen, once a source of pride, now marked me as an enemy of the state. I was herded onto a crowded freight car, packed tightly among other unfortunate souls caught in the same web of suspicion and fear. The air hung heavy with the stench of sweat, fear, and uncertainty. We were prisoners now, our destinies uncertain, our futures shrouded in doubt. The iron wheels of the train rattled beneath us, carrying us further and further away from the familiar world we knew, deeper and deeper into the heart of a conflict that threatened to consume us all. As the train lurched forward, I clung to a shred of hope, a faint glimmer in the darkness that whispered of survival, of reunion, of a future beyond the barbed wire fences and the watchful eyes of our captors. The heavy steel door clanged shut behind us, sealing our fate within the dimly lit confines of the freight car. The air grew thick and stagnant, heavy with the scent of unwashed bodies and fear. The floor was rough and unforgiving beneath us. A single barred window offered a sliver of light. The train lurched forward, the rhythmic clatter of the wheels a relentless soundtrack to our journey. The world outside was a blur, fields and forests rushing past. Inside the freight car, time seemed to stand still. The air grew heavier with each passing moment. Conversations were hushed, whispers of fear shared between strangers. Some prayed, seeking solace in the face of the unknown. Others sat in stunned silence, their eyes glazed over with shock. Children whimpered, clinging to their mothers' skirts. The weight of our confinement pressed upon us. We were adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The rhythmic clatter of the train echoed with the ominous rhythm of a slow march towards an uncertain destiny. I clung to the memory of my wife's face, her warm embrace. It was a beacon of hope, a reminder of the life that awaited me if I could only survive this ordeal. Surrounded by strangers, united by our shared misfortune, I found myself scanning the faces around me, searching for a glimmer of hope, a shared sense of resilience in the eyes of my fellow prisoners. Each face told a story, a testament to the human cost of war and the indiscriminate hand of fate that had brought us together in this iron cage. There was an elderly woman, her face etched with worry, clutching a worn leather handbag as if it contained her entire world. A young couple, their arms wrapped tightly around each other, seeking comfort in their shared love amidst the uncertainty. A group of men, their faces hardened by experience, whispered amongst themselves, their voices low and urgent. Their stories, like mine, remained untold, their fears and hopes hidden beneath a veneer of stoicism. But in their eyes, I saw a reflection of my own fear, my own desperate longing for freedom, for a return to normalcy, for an end to this nightmare. I felt a strange sense of kinship with these strangers, a bond forged in the crucible of our shared experience. We were all adrift in the same storm, clinging to the fragile hope of reaching safe harbor. As the hours turned into days, the initial shock began to give way to a dull ache of resignation. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels against the tracks became a hypnotic drone, lulling some into a fitful sleep while others paced restlessly, their anxiety growing with each passing mile. The air grew thick with the smell of sweat and despair, a suffocating reminder of our confinement. Amidst despair, a flicker of hope emerged. An elderly man with piercing blue eyes sat across from me. He wore a simple suit and a faint smile. We shared our stories and anxieties. He introduced himself as a rabbi, a calming presence. He seemed pleased I was Romanian. "It is a good thing," he whispered. His tone hinted at a deeper meaning. He spoke of faith, resilience, and hope. His words resonated deeply within me. I sensed profound wisdom in his words. He spoke of hope and small acts of kindness. As the train rattled through the night, the rabbi's words became a beacon of light in the darkness. His calm demeanor and unwavering faith were a source of comfort and inspiration. He spoke of his family, his community, his life before the war. I listened intently, absorbing his words. His stories transcended the grim reality, reminding me of hope. As the night wore on, the conversation turned to the dangers ahead. The rabbi acknowledged the risks we faced. He spoke of courage, resilience, and the need to hold on to hope. "We must never give up hope, my son. Hope is what sustains us. It is the light that guides us through the darkness." His words stirred a flicker of defiance within me. The rabbi's belief in hope gave me strength to face the unknown. We clung to each other, finding solace in the belief that the human spirit could endure. As dawn approached, casting a pale light through the barred window of the freight car, the rabbi reached into his worn coat pocket and produced a small package wrapped in a faded handkerchief. "Take this, my son," he said, pressing the package into my hand. "It may be of some use to you on your journey. Inside you will find a slice of bread," he whispered. "But do not eat it immediately. Keep it for as long as you can. You will find that you are much more patient, much more resilient, if you know that you have a piece of bread to sustain you." The bread became a talisman, a source of strength and inspiration. a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit could find the will to endure. As the train continued its relentless journey, I found myself constantly drawn to the package tucked safely away inside my coat. The bread, a meager but potent symbol of hope, gave me comfort in a world that had become unpredictable and dangerous. The rabbi's words echoed in my ears. You will find that you are much more patient, much more resilient, if you know that you have a piece of bread to sustain you. And he was right. The bread became a metaphor for hope itself, a promise of a better tomorrow. The train rattled on, carrying us towards an unknown destination. But in my heart, a small flame of hope continued to burn. The incessant clatter of the train wheels was shattered by a deafening roar that split the night sky. The freight car shook violently, plunging us into darkness as the train screeched to a halt. Panic surged as we realized we were caught in an air raid, the air filled with smoke and the cacophony of exploding bombs. In the chaos, a single thought cut through: escape. The rabbi, illuminated by fire, caught my eye. Now is our chance, he whispered urgently. We must go, while we still have the opportunity. I hesitated, torn between fleeing and helping the rabbi. Come with me, I urged, reaching out to help him. We will have a better chance together. But the rabbi, eyes filled with determination, shook his head. No, my son, he said firmly. My place is here. I cannot go with you. I pleaded with him, but his mind was made up. He believed his presence would arouse less suspicion. He insisted I had a better chance alone. With a heavy heart, I bid farewell to the rabbi, the weight of his sacrifice pressing down on me. The other prisoners scrambled towards the open door, faces etched with fear and hope. I joined the throng, propelled by the crowd's momentum, my mind racing. The night air hit me, the smell of smoke and burning metal stinging my nostrils. Disoriented, I stumbled out, the shouts of escapees echoing as we scattered into the night. The distant drone of aircraft and bombs exploding reminded me of the lurking danger. I ran blindly, clutching the rabbi's gift tightly in my hand. Through the darkness, I saw the silhouettes of trees and a distant hill, promising cover. Fear propelled me forward with unexpected strength. I heard the shouts of soldiers and barking dogs closing in. I didn't dare slow down, driven by the instinct to survive. The forest embraced me, its darkness concealing me, the rustling leaves muffling my pursuers. Days turned into nights, the sun and the moon blurring into a continuous cycle of fear and exhaustion. I moved only under the cover of darkness, fueled by adrenaline and meager rations. The rabbi's gift was a constant reminder of hope and sacrifice. Hunger's pangs were overwhelming, the bread's temptation unbearable, but I remembered the rabbi's words, "Keep it for as long as you can." The bread symbolized my will to survive, a promise to the rabbi and myself. I would not break that promise, not now, not when so much was at stake. So much. As I stumbled through the undergrowth, my clothes torn, my body weary, the image of my wife's face became a beacon of hope, a guiding star in the darkness. The thought of seeing her again, of holding her in my arms, fueled my determination, urging me onward through the exhaustion and despair. The package, tucked safely inside my shirt, had become a physical manifestation of that hope, a tangible reminder of the rabbi's kindness, his unwavering belief in the human spirit. Every step I took was a step closer to home, every sunrise a testament to my will to survive, every breath of victory over the forces that sought to extinguish the flame of hope. I thought about the rabbi, about the other prisoners, about the countless souls who had been swept up in the maelstrom of war, their fates unknown, their stories untold. I carried their memory with me, a heavy burden and a source of inspiration, a reminder that I was not alone in my struggle, that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit could find the strength to endure, to persevere, to hope against all odds. The weight of their sacrifice, the weight of their hope, rested upon my shoulders, urging me onward towards the promise of a new day, a new beginning, a future where the horrors of war would fade into distant memory, replaced by the hard-won peace and tranquility that only those who have known true suffering can truly appreciate. I would reach home, I would see my wife again. I would keep my promise, I would survive. Each step I took was heavier than the last, driven by the desire to see my wife's face once more. The landscape transformed into familiar shapes as I drew closer to the village I called home. The sight of the old oak tree filled me with hope that brought tears to my eyes. I could barely contain my excitement as I approached our small cottage, its walls weathered but still standing. I paused at the edge of our small garden, my hand hovering over the rusty gate, my heart pounding in my chest. The world seemed to hold its breath, the only sound the gentle rustling of leaves in the soft breeze. The curtains in the front window were drawn, but I could see a faint light flickering inside, a sign that someone, perhaps my wife, was still awake. Doubt, insidious and persistent, crept into my mind. What if it wasn't her? What if something had happened in my absence? What if she had given up hope of my return? The weight of the package in my pocket, the rabbi's parting gift, seemed to grow heavier with each passing moment. I had clung to it throughout my journey, drawing strength from its presence, believing with all my heart that it contained the key to my survival, to my reunion with my beloved wife. But now, standing on the threshold of hope, the fear of disappointment threatened to overwhelm me. I thought about the rabbi, about his words of wisdom, his unwavering faith, his belief in the power of hope to sustain us through even the darkest of times. Taking a deep breath, I pushed open the gate and stepped onto the familiar path leading to our front door. The crunch of gravel beneath my feet seemed deafening in the stillness of the night. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears, my blood rushing through my veins, a symphony of hope and fear playing out in the silence of my soul. With trembling hands, I retrieved the package, its weight both familiar and strange. I thought about the rabbi, his sacrifice, and his gift that sustained me. Standing on my doorstep, I hesitated, tracing the lump beneath the fabric. What if it wasn't what I expected? Taking a deep breath, I unwrapped the handkerchief. The fabric fell away, revealing a small, polished piece of wood. Disappointment and confusion washed over me. What did it mean? Why would the rabbi give me a piece of wood? Was it a message, a symbol, a final cruel joke? Standing there on the doorstep, the piece of wood smooth and cold in my hand, the weight of its significance began to dawn on me. It wasn't about physical sustenance, it was about the power of hope itself. The rabbi had given me a gift far more valuable than any earthly nourishment. He had given me the gift of hope, the unwavering belief that even in the darkest of times, a glimmer of light remains. As I stood there, the morning sun casting long shadows across the village, I knew that the rabbi's legacy would live on, not just in the piece of wood I clutched in my hand, but in the very core of my being. The experience had changed me, had stripped away the layers of naivete and self-doubt, revealing a strength I never knew I possessed. The war had taken much from me, had robbed me of my freedom, my innocence, my faith in humanity, but it had also given me something precious, something enduring. It had given me the gift of perspective, the understanding that true strength lies not in physical prowess or material possessions, but in the resilience of the human spirit. In the capacity to find hope in the face of despair, to love in the face of hatred, to forgive in the face of unimaginable cruelty. I would honor the rabbi's memory by embracing life with a newfound appreciation for its simple joys, its quiet moments of grace, its enduring capacity for beauty and wonder. I would cherish the love of my wife, the laughter of children, the warmth of the sun on my face, the taste of fresh bread, all the more precious for having known their absence. The world I knew would never be the same, but I too was forever changed. I carried the rabbi's legacy within me, a beacon of hope guiding me forward, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of times.